Thank you. And I want to thank Gwen for the invitation to give this presentation. I like doing things like this. Informing the public about the specifics of the bill is something that's easy for me to do. I have a PowerPoint running in the back. If you want to look at that, you can. It's really just as much to guide my presentation as it is for your reference, but if you can see it, that's great. SB1, of course, has a lot of different names. It's known as the Opportunity Scholarship and Education Improvement Tax Credit Program, or Act. It's also known as the Voucher Bill. It's also, in the past, if you've been following it for a long time, it used to be Senate Bill 1405 last year. It's a bill that I want to vote for. I'm really anxious to see this end up in a form that I can vote for it on the House floor. I own a copy of that movie, Waiting for Superman, and if you watch it from beginning to end and you really pay attention to it, and if you don't get choked up at the end, you don't have a heart. Senate Bill 1, its intent is to solve that problem, or at least to help solve that problem. The bill is going to be rolled out over a period of 4 years. In the first year, the students who are eligible for the program are going to be any student who is currently attending one of the schools that have been defined as a failing school in Pennsylvania. There's 144 of them. A failing school is a school that consistently ranks in the bottom 5% of their standardized test scores. In the second year, they're going to expand the program to include anybody who lives within the boundary of one of those schools. And what that means is they may not be attending that school. They're probably attending a non-public school already. I'm not quite sure how they're managing to pull that off, but they are. And so if they're attending one of those non-public schools already, they would be eligible for a voucher. And that actually throws a little wrinkle into this that drives the cost up pretty significantly. In the third year, they're going to roll it out to all low-income students in Pennsylvania. So that means somebody who goes to the Westchester School District and who lives in a family earning less than 130% of the poverty level would be eligible for the program. And then in the fourth year, they're going to expand it to include middle-income families. Just for a reference, it depends on how many children you have in the family and so forth. But this families up to about $65,000, $67,000 a year. The amount of the scholarship, this is something that's significantly different from Senate Bill 1405 from last year. The scholarships under Senate Bill 1405 are going to be pretty big. The scholarships under Senate Bill 1 are going to be based on the amount of per pupil funding that you get from the state now. And unfortunately, that varies significantly from school district to school district. I don't know if you can see the numbers from back here, but I used as an example, this past year, Westchester School District received basic funding of just over $7 million for 12,000 students. So that means that their opportunity scholarship would be about $613. The next line item down shows that for the Downingtown area school district, the opportunity scholarship would be just over $1,000. So on the surface, it might sound like I'd have a bone to pick with my friend Kurt Schroeder. But then if you continue down the list, you'll see that for the Philadelphia City School District, the opportunity scholarship would be $5,811. And that's because the Philadelphia School District gets a lot more money from the state than our school districts do out here in the county. The funding for the scholarship, this was the part that made me like the bill initially, is if we're taking a student out of the school district, we take the money for the scholarship out of that school district. So it becomes a budget neutral thing for the state. It doesn't cost us anything at all to take a kid out of a failing school and move them into a better situation. So why wouldn't we want to do that? The wrinkle that messes this up for us is the part about rolling in students who are already attending non-public schools. If they're already attending a non-public school, it's pretty hard to tell them, well, that's too bad. You were already in a non-public school when we came up with this idea, so you have to continue paying for your tuition, while everyone else who wasn't already on the program doesn't. And so the question is, who's going to pay for that? And I guess the current version of the bill, the Commonwealth comes up with that money, not the school district where the student would have attended. Another part of SB1 is the Educational Improvement Tax Credits. That's basically a system where businesses can contribute money to qualifying scholarship organizations or educational improvement organizations. Currently, the program is limited to $75 million a year, and an individual business can receive a tax credit of up to $300,000. Senate Bill 1 would increase the educational improvement tax credit to $100 million per year. Now, coincidentally, in parallel with that, the House just passed through the Education Committee, House Bill 1330, which increases the educational or improvement tax credit to $200 million a year. So I'm not sure how that's going to affect Senate Bill 1. I don't know if that means we're going to pull the EITC off of Senate Bill 1, or if House Bill 1330 isn't going to, will die if Senate Bill 1 goes through as is. Now, I know these numbers are probably really hard to see from this end of the room over here, but I'll just give you a quick summary. The Senate puts out this thing called a fiscal note on a bill, and that shows us how much the bill is going to cost. Opponents of this bill, you'll hear them saying it's going to cost us $1 billion. The real number on the Senate bill is closer to $750 million, and that's spread out over 4 years. And if you do a breakdown of where those costs are, the second column over there, it says scholarship for public school students. That's students who are already in public schools and would join the program. There's a small cost, about $15 million the first year. The second year, it's about $25 million, but we're going to get back the $15 million from the year before from the school districts. So it nets out to close to $10 million, actually $6 million, and that's a long story, but it nets out to $6 million. As the program continues to expand, you'll see the numbers grow, and then actually in the fourth year, you'll see a negative number there. We actually start to make money over time as the program settles out from students who leave public schools and go to a non-public school, and it works out in our favor. And the money that we make there gets rolled over to the student, to help the students who are already in non-public schools. The cost of the administration of the program is pretty trivial. I can't see it from here, but I think it's between $4 and $5 million, which in the overall scheme of things is not a lot of money. There's some transportation costs associated with it. Again, $14–15 million, and that's because we have to bus people to locations that they weren't bused to before. And I think there are solutions to that. The educational improvement tax program is going to cost us about $100 million, but the big hit comes in scholarships for students who are already attending non-public schools, and that's going to cost us about $550 million. And that's where a lot of the resistance is coming up now, as it sounds like the bill is more expensive than intended, and I don't know how we're going to address that yet. So in conclusion, as I see the bill right now, low-income students are rescued from failing schools at virtually no cost to the taxpayers. Again, if you watch that movie, Waiting for Superman, that was the original intent of this effort, was to get these kids out of these failing schools. We're going to take money from a school that doesn't seem to know what to do with it and give it to a school that seems to do a better job. I mean, if thinking back to if we're sending $12,000 a year or $8,000 a year to Philadelphia School District, and a kid's not ending up with an education, and we could send that $8,000, if we can find a way to transport that kid to the Westchester School District, give the Westchester School District $8,000, we're all better off. Or if we can send them to a private school that does it for even less money, I mean, you can see the advantages there. Every time we move a kid from certain public school settings where we're spending $12,000, $18,000 a year, or the Camden School District, I know that's on the other side of the river, but the Camden School District spends $28,000 per kid. Imagine that, and you know they're not getting good results.
Dan, thinking outside the box a little bit, is it possible to take some of the schools that are failing and slice from them some of their facilities and put the kids who are going to get help into that facility with different teachers? So basically you have two schools sharing the same building and less transportation costs, that type of stuff.
I'm not sure I have a lot, we have time for questions, but so I'll address that afterwards. I think that is a possibility. Finally, I just want to say, you know, the question comes up frequently about accountability. They say we're taking students from public schools and putting them into non-public schools, and these non-public schools aren't held accountable. My own kids attend a charter school. I'm going to tell you that anybody who doesn't go to a traditional public school, those other schools face the ultimate accountability. If I was dissatisfied with the education my kids were getting at the school they're at, I'd just take them out and send them back to the Westchester School District. So in the end, I think that the biggest problem with the program right now is how we're going to achieve equity for families already in non-public schools without having an excessive cost of the program. And as I said before, if anybody has any questions about this, I know Glenn has a tight timeline for today, so I'll take questions afterwards anytime. Thank you.